Africa in your hands. Connect to our website for all your news, sports, and cultural updates. channelafrica.co.za.
It is midday and this is Africa Update coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa on Channel Africa from an African perspective. I'm Lulu Gaboo. A lot coming up in this hour, but first go to the news with Jalani Tulumwepe.
SBC News. The African perspective.
Thank you, Lulu. Good day. Niger's military ruler Abdourahmane Tiani has blamed French, Benin and Ivory Coast presidents for sponsoring the attack on Niamey International Airport, an accusation he has made without any evidence. Gunfire and loud explosions echoed around Niger's international airport in Niamey shortly before midnight on Wednesday in what two security sources described as a terrorist attack. Tiani accused French President Emmanuel Macron, Benin's Patrice Talon and Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara by name while speaking on Niger's state television after visiting the airbase. He has also vowed to retaliate. Police say they've established a dedicated team to track down 18 Chinese fugitives believed to be hiding in South Africa. This follows the extradition of 63-year-old Chen Fujia, who left the OR Tambo International Airport in Kempton Park in the east of Johannesburg today. The man, who has been in hiding in South Africa since 2021, is accused of defrauding the Chinese government of $7.6 million. National Police spokesperson Athlenda Mate.
We have set up a team to look into where those 18 are, where are they hiding in the country. 11 of them are on red notices. It's quite worrying that we have people that see South Africa as a destination or a place where they can hide from their criminal activities. But what is also encouraging is that we are also able to trace them, locate them and arrest them and hand them over. From the 1st of April 2024, we've handed over 20 fugitives from this country to other countries, and we extradited back into the country about 8.
South Africa's former Public Enterprises Minister Malusi Gigaba's case has been transferred to the High Court in Johannesburg, in which he will appear on the 19th of next month. Gigaba and former Transnet executive Anand Singh, Brian Molefe, Siabonga Gama and Thamsanqa Giani appeared in the Specialised Commercial Crimes Court sitting in the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court in the east of Johannesburg today. They face corruption charges linked to the state-owned railway company Transnet's multi-billion-dollar locomotive procurement. Gigaba is out on warning while the others are out on bail. Still in South Africa, the Basic Education Department is pushing back against claims that foreign learners are overrunning the country's schools. It says the figure is only 1.8% of total enrollment. The department has called such assertions patently false and an attempt to sow division. The department says real challenges like infrastructure backlogs and funding constraints are being addressed, and schools must remain spaces of inclusion and safety for all. The department spokesperson Terence Kala.
We have never seen a proliferation or overrunning of the system of any learners of foreign descent, and I think it's just unfortunate that this has been utilized as an opportunity to raise other, perhaps maybe more critical issues, but unfortunately it's been used as a scapegoat for people to be able to raise those issues, which we certainly don't believe that the scale of what is being described has never been as it is within the basic education sector.
And finally, members of the Trump administration have attended a lavish event in Washington, D.C. to celebrate a documentary about the First Lady, Melania Trump. Amazon, which is owned by Jeff Bezos, financed the film's budget with the First Lady as one of its producers. The BBC's Peter Bose has the details.
Melania, 20 Days to History, follows Donald Trump's wife during the run-up to last year's inauguration. Amazon reportedly paid $40 million to acquire the rights to the film, and it's spending another $35 million to promote it. Critics have suggested it's an attempt by the company to curry favour with the president. As for Melania, it'll be moviegoers around the world who decide whether all the hype translates into box office dollars.
For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Cholani Tulo Wepe.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
In our sports headline, South Africa's under-19 coach says they didn't click as a team in their World Cup campaign. Emma Raducanu parted ways with her coach after the Australian Open exit. I'll be back with these and other stories at the bottom of the hour.
This is Africa Update, your pulse to the continent. Stories shaping nations and voices driving change. Stay informed, stay connected, right here on Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
Coming up in this hour.
The law of power is prevailing over the power of law. International law is trampled.
The United Nations has issued a stark warning about the state of the world order. And South Africa's Department of Basic Education says foreign nationals only make up 1.8% of the total enrollment in schools. We're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa on DSTV's audio bouquet channel 802, OpenView channel 628 and on www.channelafrica.co.za, as well as on the SABC Plus app available on the Apple and Google Play stores. You can also find the Channel Africa app on the Google and Apple Play stores. Join us in conversation on our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes on +27 83 288 6684. Well, today on Hashtag Africa Updates, ask amid escalating global conflicts, deepening inequality and intensifying climate disasters, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says the law of power is increasingly overriding the power of law. Do you agree with the sentiments expressed by the UN Secretary General? Share your thoughts and your views on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes on +27 83 288 6684. Hashtag Africa Update Us.
60 years of Channel Africa, your trusted voice, your African perspective into the future.
África. Conhece o Ntivani?
Claro que sou eu.
Ntivani é o amante da música de corpo e alma.
Eu amo música africana.
Ele aprecia todos os tipos de melodias e passa os seus dias a ouvir a Channel Africa.
Okay.
Adivinha só, a Channel Africa quer ajudar o Ntivani e os amantes da música em todo o lado a descobrir ainda mais música incrível. Por isso, a Channel Africa está a convocar artistas africanos a submeterem as suas músicas. Músicos, lembrem-se de nos dar todas as informações relevantes no music@channelafrica.co.za. As submissões são a vossa oportunidade de ser ouvidos, mas não garantem inclusão na lista. Todas as submissões serão cuidadosamente analisadas para verificar se cumprem os requisitos da nossa estação. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
It is 12:09 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. The United Nations has issued a stark warning about the state of the world order, addressing the media amid escalating global conflict, deepening inequality and intensifying climate disasters. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says the law of power is increasingly overriding the power of law. Guterres also raised alarm over shrinking humanitarian aid, unchecked technological power, and the accelerating impacts of climate change, warning that the global system for solving shared problems is approaching a critical reckoning. Channel Africa's reporter Michael Mbewe filed this.
With global tensions rising and reckless actions triggering dangerous consequences, UN General Secretary Antonio Guterres on Thursday called for renewed efforts on peace, justice and sustainable development as he outlined his priorities for 2026, the final year for his tenure. Speaking at a media briefing in Geneva, Guterres warned that the abuse of power is driving the world toward an increasingly uniform and destabilized order.
The law of power is prevailing over the power of law. International law is trampled. Cooperation is eroding. And multilateral institutions are under assault on many fronts. When perilous actions do not meet adequate reaction, the system destabilizes. And impunity is driving today's conflicts, fueling escalation, widening mistrust, and kicking the doors open for powerful spoilers to enter from every direction. Meanwhile, the slashing of humanitarian aid is generating its own chain reactions of despair, displacement, and death. At the same time, inequalities are deepening and roiling societies.
He added that climate change starkly shows how human actions are unleashing destructive reactions, while unregulated technological power is shifting from governments to private companies, driving instability and exposing a looming reckoning for global problem solving.
And climate change is the most literal and devastating illustration of Newton's principle. Every action that hits the planet triggers a ferocious reaction. Storms, wildfires, hurricanes, droughts, rising seas. And then there is technology. We are witnessing perhaps the greatest transfer of power of our times. Not from governments to people, but from governments to private technology companies. And when technologies that shape behavior, elections, markets, and even conflicts operate without guardrails, the reaction is not innovation, it is instability. As I look across the spectrum of global challenges, one truth becomes unmistakably clear. Our system of global problem solving face a reckoning.
He further stressed that global challenges cannot be solved by dominance or division, calling instead for an inclusive, networked multipolar world built on balanced partnerships in trade, technology, and international cooperation.
Global problems will not be solved by one power calling shots, nor will they be solved by two powers carving the world into rival spheres of influence. It is important to accelerate deliberately and with determination multipolarity, one that is networked, inclusive by design, and capable of creating balance through partnerships. Partnerships in trade, in technology, and in international cooperation.
Despite the challenges, Guterres struck a hopeful note, saying the UN remains committed to advancing just and lasting peace, upholding international law, and pushing reforms to strengthen the Security Council's role in global peace and security.
Despite all the hurdles, the United Nations is acting to give life to our shared value, and we won't give up. We are pushing for peace, just and sustainable peace rooted in international law, peace that addresses root causes, peace that endures beyond the signing of an agreement. We are pressing to reform and strengthen the Security Council, the only body with a charter-mandated authority to act on peace and security on behalf of every country.
Michael Mbewe, Channel Africa News, Johannesburg.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
The United States officially broke ground on a major expansion of the Manda Bay military airstrip, deepening its security ties with Kenya in a strategically vital region. Reuters' Cara Angeline Oliver has more.
U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau took the controls of a digger, symbolically launching the project alongside senior U.S. and Kenyan military leaders.
We have to show those who would attack us that we are resolved to defend ourselves. And so that is what this outpost really represents. It is a very tangible commitment to the common defense between the United States and Kenya. I think that sends a very strong signal to those who would be our adversaries.
The upgrade will allow larger aircraft to operate from the base, which the two governments say will boost counterterrorism readiness and strengthen joint maritime security along the Horn of Africa. Mandabey, a Kenya Defense Forces site that also hosts U.S. troops, has long served as a forward operating location for operations targeting extremist groups in Somalia and the wider region. It has also faced past militant attacks. Kenyan Defense Secretary Soy Pantuya highlighted the regional threats.
The security environment along our shores here and across the Horn of Africa, as we all know, remains complex, interconnected, and consequential to global stability. Piracy, human trafficking, and attacks on commercial shipping through critical checkpoints and threaten international trade and regional prosperity.
The $70 million expansion signals a deepening of U.S.-Kenya defense cooperation as both countries work to secure key maritime routes and address shared security challenges across the Horn of Africa.
And that was Reuters' Cara Angeline Oliver ending that report. It is 16 after 12 Central African time.
Africa Update on Channel Africa.
Passenger flights between Ethiopia's capital Addis Ababa and cities in the northern Tigray region have been cancelled amid fears of a return to conflict. Clashes have been reported in some areas. Ethiopia Airlines sent passengers a text message about the cancellation, citing unplanned circumstances. Tracy Bumgard has more.
Airport staff in Tigray's main city of Mekele have reportedly been told not to go to work. A 2022 peace deal to end a brutal civil war in Tigray has been unraveling as tensions grow over disputed territory and ahead of June's elections. There are reports of clashes between the federal army and Tigray fighters, Maidugusha, a contested area in western Tigray. There are also reports of new military movements in southern Tigray, raising concerns of renewed conflict. Ethiopian Airlines has not yet issued an official statement or explanation regarding the suspension of its flights. Tigray's transport chief, Tadele Mengisutu, confirmed that flights had been cancelled but said he did not have detailed information about the reasons behind the decision. An AU envoy has estimated that 600,000 people were killed during the Tigray war, with all sides accused of gross abuses, such as the mass killing of civilians and widespread sexual violence. For Channel Africa, I am Tracy Bumgard.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
Niger's military ruler Abdourahamane Tiani has blamed France, Benin and Ivory Coast for sponsoring the attack on Niamey International Airport, an accusation he made without offering any evidence. More in this Reuters report.
Niger's military ruler Abdourahamane Tiani is vowing retaliation for what security sources described as a terrorist attack on Niamey's International Airport on Wednesday night. Tiani accused the leaders of France, Benin, and Ivory Coast of sponsoring the attacks. He did not offer any evidence to back the assertion.
We remind the sponsors of these mercenaries, notably Emmanuel Macron, Patrice Talon, Alassane Ouattara. We have listened to them bark enough. They should also prepare to hear us roar.
Niger State TV reported that one of the assailants killed was a French national, though it offered no proof. The offices of the three presidents could not immediately be reached for comment. Tiani also thanked Russian troops stationed at the base for defending their area. Since seizing power, Niamey's military rulers, like those in Mali and Burkina Faso, have cut ties with Western powers and turned to Moscow for military support against insurgencies. Authorities say that a large uranium stockpile at the airport had not been affected by the attack. Reuters sources estimate that about 1,000 metric tons of so-called yellow cake was moved to the location last year. That is after Niger seized control of a key mine from French nuclear firm Orano. Yellow cake is a powdered form of uranium that can be processed to make fuel for nuclear production. Satellite imagery showed damaged buildings and facilities at the army base after the attack. The incident briefly raised security concerns around the airport, a sensitive site in a country grappling with militant violence. Officials said calm had returned to the city, and daily life in the capital of about 1.5 million people was largely unaffected.
And that was a Reuters News report.
The sound of Africa is evolving. Experience our new mobile app. Free to download, free to connect. Channel Africa is evolving, and so are you. Stay connected wherever you are with our brand new website and mobile app. Stream your favorite shows, catch up on African news, culture, and conversations, all at your fingertips.
Africa is just a tap away.
Your world, your stories, now on the go.
Stay connected wherever you are.
Visit channelafrica.co.za or download the Channel Africa app today. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Your window to the continent and beyond. Africa Update, only on Channel Africa. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
It is 12:21 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. South Africa's Department of Basic Education is pushing back against claims that foreign learners are overrunning schools, saying the figure is only 1.8% of total enrollment. The department calls such assertions patently false and an attempt to sow division. The department says real challenges like infrastructure backlogs and funding constraints are being addressed, and schools must remain spaces of inclusion and safety for all. For more on this, we are joined on the line by Basic Education Department spokesperson Terence Kala. Terence, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to all of the listeners this afternoon.
Now, Terence, according to the Department of Education, verified national enrollment data states that foreign learners constitute only 1.8% of the total learner population in the country. Now, when was this data verified, and is it accessible to concerned parties?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to discuss this with you. I think it's a very pertinent topic, and it's important for us to really just bring our voice into this and clarify. This data comes from the 2025 academic calendar. This is data that was provided to us by provinces, and what initiated this was a parliamentary query where we were requested to respond on the number of foreign nationals in our schools. And as you mentioned in your intro, I mean, we definitely believe that it's a issue that has been utilized, unfortunately, for negative purposes, because what we have seen and the data that we're getting from our schools does not corroborate some of the assertions that have been placed by some members of the public out there. And it's important for us really just to give confidence to all parents and to the South African school public that we are aware of challenges that exist, but we want to contextualize this and really give empirical data that can indicate that it doesn't support some of the notions that have been portrayed in the public.
Now, some media reports and provincial breakdowns suggest significant regional variations. How does the department explain these geographic disparities, and what targeted measures are in place to address perceptions of localized pressure in high demand urban zones where overcrowding complaints are most vocal? I'll give an example of the Durban situation, the Addington Primary School last week.
Indeed, I mean, we do note provinces of high pressure, and this is largely in very active economic zones. Obviously, we do understand that South Africans are chasing economic prosperity, and thus they're moving towards high-pressure economic zones. And we work quite closely with these provinces, namely Gauteng, KZN, and the Western Cape, to assist them in alleviating pressure. What gives us confidence is what we're seeing coming out of Gauteng is the building of more brick-and-mortar spaces, but also the provision of mobile classrooms where needed. And I think what's important for us to state is that we do have various application processes that take place during the course of the year, and we do support our provinces because those are at staggered times. And we encourage our parents to really just be aware of these periods, make sure that they apply timeously. But we want to also give confidence to those parents who perhaps maybe have migrated late in the year, were unable to make the application process, that we will make sure that every child is placed, because that is the constitutional mandate of the Department of Basic Education, is to ensure that every child within the borders of South Africa has access to a quality basic education.
And how many schools are needed currently to be able to fully accommodate learners in South Africa? And what is the time frame to address them, especially when we speak of infrastructure backlogs?
Indeed, I mean, this continues to be a moving target. So as we look at the amount of schools that are required, provinces do update us regularly. I've actually just broken out of a Council of Education Ministers meeting now, where we're getting updates from the various MECs and HODs in provinces relating to that very question about the infrastructure backlogs that are required. But I think what's important to give confidence as well to listeners is that there is the Education Infrastructure Grant, which the department provides every year. And this is what provinces utilize to augment their own infrastructure budgets and to provide and alleviate pressure where needed, where extra classes are needed, where mobile classes are needed. So the idea for us is to ensure that we address challenges where they are, and we make sure that we migrate our resources to make sure that we can support provinces not only with what's given to them nationally as the infrastructure grant, but also to be able to alleviate pressure where possible by bringing on some of our private partners and entities that also assist us in making sure that we can alleviate the pressure. So I think for us, it's really about making sure that we continue to address the ongoing challenges. We do understand that there are infrastructure backlogs. However, the department continues to move in earnest to make sure that we support provinces to address these.
Now, given the ongoing population growth, urban migration, and the need to expand capacity, what long-term strategies is the department pursuing to prevent the recurring placement crisis and just ensure that the system remains resilient for both South Africans and foreign nationals?
Thank you so much. I think that's a very pertinent question, and I think it allows me to draw on the workings of government as a whole. And I think we are part of the social development cluster, but also making sure that we work closely with other arms of government, because obviously where infrastructure goes up and new malls, new housing projects and things, this then does mean that new human beings will be moving into those spaces, and they'll require services such as schools, clinics and the likes. And I think it's all about a whole of government approach. I did mention the aspect that education is a societal issue, and it really requires all arms of government to come together. So we're working very closely with our sister departments to make sure that where pressure is felt, we can be able to support each other. I mean, I'm talking about departments like the Department of Public Works, where we can work in tandem to be able to make sure that we alleviate the pressures that are seen, but also working, as mentioned, with those high-pressure provinces, which are the province of Gauteng, the province of the Western Cape, and the provinces of KZN.
And just in wrapping up, Terence, the department calls assertions that foreign learners are overrunning South African schools as an attempt to sow division. What would be gained by such groups or people sowing division?
Well, the unfortunate part is that obviously people are fueling emotional tensions, and I think obviously riling people up behind the topic of education and the placement of learners takes a slightly xenophobic approach. And what we want to do and desist from, as the department is being utilized as a low-hanging fruit to portray or to rather to carry people's ultimate ambitions. I think for us the main thing is that anybody that wants to be around the education space needs to understand that this is a space that promotes teaching and learning, and that is the core of what we're doing here. Unfortunately, our educators and our principals are not immigration officials, and ours is to keep to the mandate of the Constitution and the mandate of the basic education sector, which is to provide quality basic education to all learners of school-going age within the borders of South Africa.
All right, Terence, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. We are going to leave it there for today, and hopefully we'll touch base at some point and just find out how the plans are going in terms of, the infrastructure and ensuring that next year enrollment is not as bad as it was this year. That's Terence Kala, a spokesperson for South Africa's Department of Basic Education, joining us on the line. It is 29 after 12 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. And join us in conversation on our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram, and YouTube at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes on +27 83-288-6684. Hashtag Africa Update.
Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802.
It is 12:30 and our news update up next.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Lulu. Good afternoon. Making headlines, Niger's military ruler Abdourahmane Tiani has blamed French, Benin and the Ivory Coast presidents for sponsoring the attack on Niamey International Airport, an accusation he has made without any evidence. Police say they've established a dedicated team to track down 18 Chinese fugitives believed to be hiding in South Africa. This follows the extradition of a 63-year-old Chen Fujia, who left the OR Tambo International Airport in Kempton Park in the east of Johannesburg today. And finally, members of the Trump administration have attended a lavish event in Washington, D.C. to celebrate a documentary about the First Lady, Melania Trump. I will have details on these and other stories at 1 o'clock.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective. Sports. On Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
First up, it's cricket news. South Africa's under-19 coach, Malibongwe Maketa, has admitted that they just didn't click into gear at the ICC Under-19 World Cup in Namibia and Zimbabwe, leading to their poor performance at the tournament. Maketa was speaking after they lost their final match of the competition to Sri Lanka by 5 wickets, meaning they returned home with only one win to their name against Tanzania. The coach says they did have moments where they could have capitalized but didn't, and expressed disappointment that they didn't handle the tough moments too well.
Yeah, very, very disappointing. The way we really handle the tough moments. That's probably the glaring moments of the whole campaign. We had moments where, in most games, we had moments where we could really, really wrestle the game and bully and take control of the game. And unfortunately, in those tough moments, we were not up for it. And that's probably the biggest disappointing thing about the whole campaign.
Maketa outlined the next steps in the development of South Africa's young cricketers, confirming a structured program to support their growth. He also revealed the schedule for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, for the under-19 group, they will now form part of the emerging team that will play in the second division competition starting now in February, coming up next month. And then from there, there's an England tour in June, July, which all of these players, I believe, qualify for that tour. So from us now, it's all about supporting them and working closely with their schools and making sure that by the time they get to the camps, they've implemented most of the areas that they needed to grow in.
On to netball news. Jenny van Dijk, the South Africa's head coach, has praised her side and resilience after securing a hard-fought 52-48 victory over England in their opening match of the Spa Challenge on Thursday night at Ellis Park in Johannesburg. The Proteas will head into the remainder of the three-match test series against the Vitality Roses, high on confidence, with the second encounter set for Saturday. Van Dijk adds that she's grateful that the fans also gave them an extra push.
Definitely, that's one of the most important components of sport, and that's something that we talk about quite a lot and something that we train a lot. We're always aware of the score, always aware of the time. Doesn't matter if we're just having a run around on the court, easy session or whether we have the most complex session. It's always about understanding what can happen with what time left on the clock and understanding how to change. But it is, and I also felt today that this was a good step for us in really keeping that composure.
On to motor racing, Lewis Hamilton hailed Ferrari's amazing mileage on day 4 of Formula One's pre-season shakedown in Barcelona. The 7-time world champion enjoyed a productive morning at the Circuit de Catalunya as Ferrari looked to bounce back from a winless 2025 campaign that saw them finish 4th overall. Let's end with tennis news. British number 1 Emma Raducanu has ended her partnership with coach Francisco Roig after 6 months. 2021 US Open champion confirmed the split following her second-round exit at the Australian Open, where she lost to Anastasia Potapova. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fikile Ngwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Across Africa, communities rise with the promise of clean water and clean sanitation. The African Union's 2026 theme calls us to action.
It's about mobilizing real commitments, securing climate-resilient water and sanitation projects, and ensuring that water becomes a driver of sustainable development and prosperity across the continent.
A landmark moment, not only for Africa, but for the global movement for access to safe water for all.
Assuring sustainable water availability for every home, every village, every nation. This is the Africa we want.
Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
With the business news this hour, I'm Matapela Mahabe. Good afternoon. Ethiopia will go back to holders of its $1 billion Eurobond for further negotiations after its official creditors said a proposed debt restructuring deal struck early this month did not meet comparability requirements. The Ethiopian Finance Ministry says the official creditor committee, through its co-chairs, has informed Ethiopia of its assessment that the drafted restructuring deal does not fully meet the requirements of the comparability of treatment principles. And the multinational steelmaker ArcelorMittal has extended a longer-term agreement with the government of Liberia on mining and shipping of minerals, bringing its total investment in the African country to $3.5 billion. ArcelorMittal says that the parties extended the duration of the existing agreement until 2050, with an option to renew for a further 25 years. The company says it will pay the government $200 million for the extension of mining rights and reserved access to railroad capacity. And the Motor Industry Staff Association, MISA, in South Africa is cautioning the government against protecting the automotive manufacturing industry at the expense of the retail motor industry. MISA says imposing tariffs on Chinese and Indian vehicle brands could harm job creation in the retail sector. Instead, the association is urging the government to encourage these brands to invest in local manufacturing and create more jobs. Sonia Kirsten is the spokesperson for MISA.
We will see more dealership closures than we have seen over the past 2 years, and it is really having a devastating impact in the retail motor industry. But as we've seen the influx of Chinese and Indian brands, We also saw them establishing dealership networks across South Africa. So where you are being retrenched for working for one of the traditional brands, so the new Chinese brands come in, they establish dealership networks, and that creates jobs for people retrenched by the traditional dealership networks.
And South African state-owned power utility Eskom has raised its salary increase offer to trade unions to 5.5% from 3.5% it proposed last year. Though it remains well below what unions are demanding, Eskom has been a longer-term drag on Africa's biggest economy through its electricity cuts and financial woes. But a sharp improvement in the performance of its coal-fired power stations has allowed it to stop implementing nationwide blackouts. It reported its first full-year profit in 8 years last financial year. The proposed pay increase will come into effect on the 1st of July. Onto this now, Ugandan Finance Ministry says that the country's economy is projected to expand between 6.5% and 7% in the financial year starting in July, sharply down from a previous estimate of 10.4%. The ministry did not give an explanation for the revision. The ministry provided the latest growth forecast in a post on the platform X. In a budget paper in December, the ministry had projected Uganda's economy to grow 10.4%, supported by the start of oil production. The country plans to begin pumping crude from reserves in its western fields operated by France's Total Energies and China's CNOOC. A look at your financial indicators. One US dollar in Nigeria is trading at 1,391 naira. In Botswana, it's 12.93. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 11. And in Zambia, it's 19 kwacha 79. The BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 real 20. Russia, it's 75 rubles 78. India, it's 91 rupees at 92, while in China it's 6 yuan 95, and South Africa $1 is trading at 15 rands 73 cents. $1 is trading at 72 pence to the British pound and 84 to the euro. A look at your commodities. Gold is trading at $5,161 and platinum at $2,425 per ounce, while the price of Brent crude oil is at $69.65 a barrel. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business News, I am Matapela Mahape.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. Stay tuned to Channel Africa. Stream us on our new and updated website, channelafrica.co.za.
Madapiri pazoshitika. Madapiri pazoshitika.
Madotolo oposa 1,500 amene amagwira ntchito yaulere mu zipatala zaboma mu dziko la Zambia azanyanyala ntchito lachisanu sabata yammawa, ndipo Daniel Shabanda kutambasula nkhani.
Madotolo oposa 1,500 amene amagwira ntchito mopanda malipiro apamwezi dziko la Zambia akuyembekezera kuyamba kunyanyala ntchito. Ichi ndi chifukwa chakuti boma lalephera kuwalemba ntchito monga mmene lidawalonjezera. Channel Africa News yalankhulana ndi mkulu wa bungwe la madotolo la Resident Doctors Association of Zambia, Dr. Paul Chiwe. Akugomeza kuti madotolo ambiri amene akugwira ntchito mu zipatala zaboma akugwira ntchito yaulere, ndipo ali ndi chiyembekezo chakuti tsiku lina adzalembedwa ntchito ndi boma.
Zochitika pa nthawi ya 7 koloko madzulo, lolemba mpaka lachisanu ndi Madapiri.
Your window to the continent and beyond. Africa Update. Only on Channel Africa. Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
It is 12:42 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Today on hashtag Africa Update asks, amid escalating global conflicts, deepening inequality and intensifying climate disasters, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says the law of power is increasingly overriding the power of law. Do you agree with the sentiments expressed by the UN Secretary General? Share your thoughts and your views on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes on +27 83 288 6684. Hashtag Africa Update Us.
Africa Update on Channel Africa.
14 foreign nationals have been arrested in South Africa's Eastern Cape province during a police operation targeting illegal gambling. Authorities also seized 265 gaming machines packed in a shipping container, and the business owner has been charged under the country's Gambling Act. Nomzwanele Mgoma filed this report.
Nyandeni local municipality mayor Viwe Ndamase says their focus is not only on compliance but to also check legalities of foreign nationals trading in their areas. Khulisa supermarket in Ngeleni has been found with illegal gambling merchants that were still inside a shipping container. The shop owner denied ownership of the merchants but refused to make a formal comment. Meanwhile, Ndamasa is adamant that such operations will combat lawlessness in their areas.
We came here in the morning inspecting compliance in all the shops, not only issues of compliance in terms of trading, but to check whether those who are trading in this town of Ngeleni have got permits to be here. We have so far arrested 10 Pakistanis and Chinese nationals whose cases are being opened as we speak. These are people who could not produce any form of documentation, and some of them produced fake documentation because as we process them, we are linking up with immigration. They check validity of the documentation and give us a response. So all those who are at the back of the bag as we speak, that documents have found to be invalid.
Ndamase says that they work with all relevant departments in ensuring compliance.
We burst into this Khulisa shop in Ngeleni. Remember, this is where the Minister for Employment and Labour came in 2 weeks ago. But the problems that she identified are still prevailing. We have just received over 200 gambling machines, of which, according to the Eastern Cape Gambling Act, this shop is not supposed to possess such. We are busy loading them now for them to be handed over to the Eastern Cape Gambling Board.
Spokesperson for Provincial Commissioner Brigadier Nobuntu Kantana says such crimes fuel other criminal activities.
14 foreign nationals were detained as they were found without immigration documents. The group consisted of 2 Chinese nationals and 12 Pakistani nationals. After their documentation was received and verified by immigration officials, they were released. However, they were each fined for trading without the required business licenses. The acting provincial commissioner of Eastern Cape, Major General Thandiswa Khupiso, stated that the removal of 265 illegal gambling machines is a significant blow to illicit operations that often fuel other crimes in our communities. She further stated that these operations will continue to ensure safety and compliance.
The operations are expected to continue. Nomzwanele Mngoma, SABC News at Ngeleni in the Eastern Cape.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
It is 12:47 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Now, South Africa's Department of Basic Education is pushing back against claims that foreign learners are overrunning schools, saying the figure is only 1.8% total enrollment. The department calls such assertions patently false and an attempt to sow a division. Now we go to our next discussion, which is the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa is this Friday set to receive the FIFA World Cup original trophy during the FIFA World Cup trophy tour at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. Now the FIFA World Cup trophy tour by Coca-Cola is bringing the most coveted prize in football to South Africa. South Africa's football story is rooted in defining moments, from first qualifying in 1998 to hosting the 2010 FIFA World Cup. Channel Africa's reporter Michael Mbewe is at the Union Buildings, and he now joins us on the line to give us the latest. Michael, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon, Lulu. Good afternoon to our listeners in the continent of Africa, most especially the football lovers, but also those beyond, the shores of South Africa away from African continent as far as football is concerned.
Michael, what can you tell us about this event?
Indeed, Lulu. So this event comes after 16 years when South Africa hosted the World Cup, and it reminds us about the euphoria, the excitement, and the palpable mood that South Africa had that time when South Africa has now qualified again for the FIFA World Cup, marking a powerful return to the global football stage. The trophy arrival represents hope, pride, memory, and momentum. It marks the symbolic beginning of South Africa's return to the FIFA World Cup, a moment in which the future of South Africa football is placed both physically and emotionally into the hands of its people. Let me also add, Lulu, that it signals South Africa's global position and influence, not only on politics, economy, but also in sports, amid global headwinds that everyone is witnessing at the moment. So yes, it reminds us when we also hosted the 2010 FIFA World Cup here in our shores in South Africa, Lulu.
Now, Michael, what is expected to be happening today exactly? And who is in attendance? And it is a very exciting time. And I guess it does take us back to 2010.
Indeed. So this event is sponsored by Coca-Cola. We know Coca-Cola and World Cup. They have a long-term relationship between them when it comes to the promotion of soccer as far as this World Cup is concerned. So we are actually expecting the Minister of Sports, Gaten McKenzie, is the one who is going to be, officiating this ceremony. And also soccer players from, the team, Bafana team of 2010, but also 1996. I've seen the vice coach of Bafana is here, Herman Nkalele, but also the goalkeeper coach. Unfortunately, we had to speak to them, but they've been called inside because the ceremony is nearing to start now. But people are gathering. We see some of the officials from the government of South Africa coming down, all the dignitaries, all the cabinet ministers, but also we have a few fans that are here to cheer this very moment. But also we have entertainers in terms of, traditional dancers who are here, the young ones, to also show their spirit as far as this moment is concerned. Very exciting moment indeed for South Africa. And like I said, that amid all, the myths that we see across the as far as, the U.S. is concerned. And if you tie it, because the World Cup is being hosted by the United States of America. So exciting moment indeed. Maybe will this now add to, as far as we are trying to establish our relations, to reset our relations with the U.S., will this also be part of that, which will pave a way to see whether we can reestablish the diplomatic relations between USA and South Africa. So the trophy tour will be, it will be, there's a schedule that I think from here, it's going to also go to Johannesburg and then Cape Town, but also in Durban. We don't know whether it's going to go up to the north, but we're still waiting to get more details to how the program of this FIFA. I can see also officials now bringing a bag where I think that's where the FIFA World Cup trophy is. The big bag is a Louis Vuitton bag. That carries mostly this World Cup trophy, and I see the officials putting it down there. I think they might open it anytime soon to put it on the podium where the representatives of FIFA, but also Coca-Cola, will now be waiting for President Cyril Ramaphosa to be handed over this, very important trophy for as far as football, World Cup football is concerned, Lulu. It's a very, very precious trophy. And they say that it's not a replica. It is an original trophy that is going to be won by the team that is going to do well in the tournament leading to the USA, Lulu.
Well, a very exciting time and an interesting time. And as you mentioned, that it will be the FIFA World Cup this year will be in the US. And we'll see how that one goes. And I guess we're going to be hearing from you at some point later once you've spoken to, I guess, the alumni of the Bafana team that are in your presence, I guess. Well, that's Michael Mbewe, our reporter, who is on the ground there in Pretoria, where the FIFA World Cup original trophy is there. And, President Cyril Ramaphosa is set to receive that trophy. And I guess the excitement is the fact that it is back on South African soil, once again.
As Africa renews, so does its voices. 60 years of Channel Africa.
Este é o Caleidoscópio de Canal África, com Remo Samo e João Yabalá.
A situação do ativista angolano Serrote José de Oliveira, preso desde julho, tem gerado grande preocupação internacional. Conhecido como General Nila e presidente do movimento União Nacional para a Total Revolução de Angola, Serrote iniciou uma greve de fome em protesto contra a sua prisão, que considera arbitrária. De acordo com a Amnistia Internacional, o estado de saúde do ativista está a deteriorar-se rapidamente devido à falta de acesso a cuidados médicos adequados. Para discutir o impacto deste caso e o estado da liberdade política em Angola, vamos conversar com Dito Dale, ativista e defensor dos direitos humanos.
Nós estamos diante de uma clara estratégia de aniquilar o jovem, porque quando uma pessoa está doente, deve ser assistido. Ao não proporcionar esses cuidados médicos, o que é que o regime quer? Não quer que esse jovem saia livre e com vida da prisão, quer matá-lo.
De segunda a sexta-feira, das 20 às 21 horas locais, este é o Caleidoscópio do Canal África.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
Well, it is that time of the day where we say happy Friday to Tebogo Lekuleni of the Upside team. How are you today? Welcome back.
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much. Good to be back. Here you're talking all things FIFA.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that it's still happening. I am. Just a little bit.
Sports is supposed to be... What's the right word for it? It's supposed to bring people together. It's supposed to. So being the key word here. So we're yet to see if that is going to happen and how it's going to happen. So it's an interesting one. But South Africa, I guess, has to take part.
All the drama. I've been checking out people,
cancelling their tickets. Yes.
Well, they say their tickets, but also their accommodations and their flights to the US. But we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah.
Here's what's coming up on the Upside this afternoon. We'll be joined by DJ Lisa. She's a South African DJ, Amapiano DJ, a reality TV star. She'll be providing our DJ mix this afternoon. And then we'll be joined by an SA Idol winner in the year 2020. I'm not going to tell you who it is. You'll have to stay tuned to find out who it is. And then we also have a very important conversation because there was a protest or a movement not too long ago, a couple of days ago, under the banner Save SA Film Jobs. These are actors, independent contractors saying, listen, our industry is suffering. Our producers don't have creative rights to their intellectual properties. They're not getting paid well. And the wages within the space are not enough for people to live off and continue to be creative. We'll be unpacking that and how there has been a 3.8 billion rand loss in South Africa's film and television industry, and as it fights for survival. So that's all coming up on the Upside this afternoon.
Definitely something to look forward to. And we continue. That's the Upside coming up at the top of the hour with Tebogo Lekuleni and Matseko Musito. Well, we continue on Africa Updates with all the news from across the globe.
The Upside, taking the African perspective to fresh levels.
From Channel Africa. We're about to have ourselves a good time right now.
Come on, brother.
It's a whole thing.
You've partnered up with Focalistic, based on a true story.
It's actually crazy for you to put it like that, partnered up. This is someone I look up to from a very long time. 3 years ago, we put out a single, Pele Pele. You know, that was my first record with him. This project, based on a true story, the album was so highly anticipated and premeditated on our end, you know, because something we constantly, you know, kept on going back and forth about, but we never actioned it. It's actually quite crazy because all of this is happening whilst we are both working on our albums. You know, I'm working on my album 31314 because there's a record, 31314, the interlude. So it's like a prelude to the album, you know.
Let me pronounce it properly. Is it 31314? 31314.
The Upside. Live and real. It's dynamic. Africa Update on Channel Africa.
Well, and that's a wrap of Africa Update today and for the week. It's been a good one. And let's continue doing this on Monday. But also you continue joining us on our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram, and subscribe on YouTube at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes on +27 83 288 6684 #Africa Update. Africa Update. And on Africa, #Africa Update Ask, we're asking you about the amid escalating global conflicts, deepening inequality and intensifying climate disasters. UN Secretary General saying that the law of power is increasingly overriding the power of law. Do you agree with the sentiment expressed by the UN Secretary General? Share your thoughts on all our social media platforms. That's on X and Instagram at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa, and send us your comments and voice notes on +27 83 288 6684 #Africa Update Ask. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.